Welcome to the WHHI-TV Daily News. I'm Betsy McDaniel. As always, there's a lot to talk about in the Lowcountry today, so we'll get started with a few headlines. Even before the pandemic, Beaufort Memorial Hospital was seeing an increased demand for surgeries by about 4,000 a year. So the hospital is expanding its surgical pavilion in Okatee. The $24 million project will include 2 state-of-the-art surgical suites focusing on advanced procedures. Existing suites will be enlarged to accommodate new technologies. CEO Russell Baxley says the hospital's demand for surgeries increased from about 8,500 back in 2018 to over 12,000 this year, and he doesn't see the slowdown coming anytime soon. Almost $18 million of the cost is being paid for by federal grants. Meanwhile, Hilton Head Hospital is renting units at the lofts at Coligny Beach on a short-term basis to house its newest employees, and they are doing so with no out-of-pocket costs for those employees. The hospital is expected to pay below area market rates to house the travel nurses and other staff that will live in the units. The hospital is hoping this perk will help attract and retain top young talent in the medical field. Currently, South Carolina is ranked 38th in the country in the ratio of nurses to residents, this according to the Nurse Journal. Also, the town of Hilton Head has announced it has found a partner to build and manage a workforce housing neighborhood on 12 acres near the North End Post Office. Bob Stevens will have more on that in just a few minutes. In a trial expected to last much of the week, Solicitor Duffy Stone began his prosecution of Ty Cheneyfield for the shooting of former Bluffton High School senior DJ Fields Jr. 2.5 years ago by telling jurors that Cheneyfield and Jimmy Green were hunting for retaliation for Green's house being shot at when they mistakenly killed Fields instead of a passenger in his car, E.J. Graham. Green has already pleaded guilty in the case and has been sentenced to 40 years in prison. Cheneyfield's lawyer, Scott Lee, opened by stating that evidence cannot prove his client was in the car at the time of the shooting and that there is reasonable doubt that he was involved. Fields was gunned down by a passing car while driving down Highway 170. Graham survived 2 gunshot wounds to the head. Using new technology, the identity of a body found back in 1995 near Yemassee has been confirmed and has prompted the reopening of the cold case. Investigators believe that Maria Teles Gonzalez was murdered in Florida and then her body was dumped in a drainage ditch near Yemassee. The new technology finally identified the body, and investigators have used aging software to help suggest what an unknown suspect named Carlos might look like now. Beaufort County cold case investigators say Florida police are already receiving leads in the case. And it wouldn't really be a complete list of court stories without mentioning the latest in the Murdaugh case. Murdaugh's lawyers are now asking that his assets be transferred to the federal government because they think the current state receivers of his money are draining the assets too quickly. His attorneys say $400,000 have already been paid to the receivers out of the $2.1 million originally set aside to deal with victims' claims. They also want to see receipts for that $400,000. The lawyers themselves are asking for another $160,000 to appeal his murder conviction, saying they have already drained the $600,000 they have been paid by the fund. The media sources on your screen will have more on these and other stories, and we would love for you to like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram at WHHI-TV. And if you have an idea for a news story, we'd love to hear it, so drop us a line at news@WHHITV.com. And now here's Justin Jarrett with what happened last night in the Loco.
Hey, it's time for Last Night in the Loco on WHHI, powered by locosports.com. It's been a minute since we checked in on the USCB Sand Shark soccer team, which suffered its first loss of the season in a 2-1 battle at Georgia College a week ago and was looking to bounce back in a rain-drenched matchup with Erskine on Tuesday. The game was moved to the turf field in Hardeeville due to heavy rain, and the Sand Sharks were the only team able to navigate the conditions, bagging a 5-0 victory. Mari Kalvatn scored her 48th and 49th career goals, adding to her all-time program record totals for goals and points, and USCB outshot the Flying Fleet 27-5 with a 14-1 edge in shots on goal. The Sand Sharks are 5-1 overall and 1-1 in Peach Belt play, with the conference clash with Albany State on tap at 1 p.m. Saturday at Finland Field. Pivoting to volleyball, Hilton Head High picked up a 3-1 home win over Bluffton last night, avenging a 3-1 loss in the Den 2 weeks ago and pulling the teams even in the race for the final playoff spot in Region 7-4A. That creates some separation for the third-place May River Sharks, who can grab a share of second place with a win over Lucy Beckham on the road tonight. In other volleyball action last night, Beaufort Academy swept Bridges Prep. Claire Tumlin with a triple-double with aces, assists, and digs, and Maddie Nelson 10 kills and 3 blocks up front for BA. We're just 2 days away from another edition of Loco Friday Night, so we'll preview the Week 6 high school football slate on Thursday. For Loco Sports and WHHI, I'm Justin Jarrett. Until next time, go Loco.
Thanks, Justin. Now we'll take a look at that weather with Maria.
Thanks, Betsy. Yep, so taking a look ahead, it does look like we get a break from the rain just in time for the weekend. But taking a look at Thursday, it is going to be windy and cloudy with multiple thunderstorms throughout the day and going into the evening. Hillnet's go high 79, a low 67. Bluffton's go high 80, a low 65. And Beaufort's go high 80 and a low 64. The sunrise for Thursday is going to be at 7:15 and sunset's going to be at 7:12. Looking at the beach tides, high tide's going to be at 8:59 a.m. and low tide's going to be at 4:02 p.m. Taking a look into the rest of the week and into the weekend. Friday, it's going to be cloudy and humid with rip current warnings in effect. So if you're in the water, do be careful. Highs in the 80s, lows in the 60s. Come Saturday, it's going to be sunny to partly cloudy with highs in the 80s and lows in the 60s. And come Sunday, it's going to be sunny and breezy with highs in the 80s and lows in the 60s. That's it for today. Let's send it back to the desk.
Thanks, Maria. Well, the town of Hilton Head has picked Atlanta developer One Street Residential to partner for the workforce housing program that is supposed to go in at the north end by the post office. Bob Stevens will have more on this after a quick break, so stay with us.